All right, thank you all for being here from the Grant Foundation. My name is Kagan and this is Stanley, and we represent water.org. So today we're going to talk to you a little bit about the water crisis, which has been labeled the #1 health crisis in the entire world globally right now. And so just to give you some background, today we're going to talk about the 3 biggest issues that encompass the water crisis. It's a pretty complex issue, but it really boils down to just 3, which are women and children and the struggles that they face daily to try and find water, as well as water and sanitation. How do we get clean water to areas that don't have a lot of money, and how do we make sure that that water is clean so they can use it? And lastly, diseases that come along with water crisis and just the lack of water and plumbing. To give you a little bit of background on water.org and what we do, so that you can see how credible our organization is. Water.org has been around for 30 years, and in that time it has made some of the largest strides in ensuring that clean water is brought to the poorest places on earth. So to give you guys an idea of how crucial the water crisis is, over 500,000 children alone die every year from lack of water and the diseases that come along with that. That's 1 every 90 seconds. So likely on your walk to this classroom, 10 children died while you were walking here because of a lack of water and the diseases that come along with that. So to talk about women and children and the struggles that they face daily trying to find water, according to the World Health Organization, UNICEF, over 6 hours per day are spent by women and children trying to just find a glass of water. 6 hours is about what all of us spend on campus every day. Imagine just trying to do that to find your bottle of water to fill up. This causes an immense amount of strain on not only these individuals and their health, but also the economies of the governments that they live in. 6 hours a day to just try and find some water means the kids can't go to school, women can't go to work and contribute to the economy, and it's really just bad for everybody. As well, some of these countries where you're spending 6 hours a day trying to find water, they don't have plumbing. And that accounts to over 266 million hours per year just trying to find an adequate place to go to the bathroom. That's something almost none of us think of. And even in some of these countries, like I mentioned, where students aren't going to school because they can't find water, even if they are able to make it to school, 1/3 of all schools globally lacks access to safe water, which is just astounding. Next, to talk about the water and sanitation problem globally. How do we get water to low-income areas, and how do we make sure that it's clean? According to the World Economic Forum, the water crisis is the #1 global risk based on impact to society. So you can see on this graph some of the areas that are most affected by the water crisis. Obviously, us here in the United States are pretty well off, except for that middle part where there's huge drought and it's a big desert. But compared to places in Africa and the Middle East, that's where we see the biggest impact on water, and these children and women and just everybody in these countries are living in horrible conditions. They have 6 hours a day to try and find a glass of water. And in these countries, they could be contributing to the world economy on a massive impact if clean water and sanitation was brought to them at an affordable rate, which is what water.org does. So to talk to you a little bit more about the diseases that come along with a lack of water, I'll pass it off to Stanley.
Without access to clean drinking water, adults and children are exposed to a multitude of waterborne illnesses, and these greatly impact their health and in some cases can even lead to death. According to the Joint Monitoring Program for water supply and sanitation, which is a direct mechanism of the United Nations, waterborne illnesses affect over 1.5 billion people a year, and of that kills 1 million, the majority of which are children. Now, water is the most vital component for life, and unfortunately this applies to bacteria as well. Unsanitized water is filled with harmful microbes, and people without access to clean water have no choice but to drink these harmful parasites. Children, especially due to their underdeveloped immune systems and growing bodies, are prone to suffer the worst of these waterborne illnesses, and in many instances actually die to deaths that are otherwise easily avoidable.
So to quickly outlay the solution to this really complex issue, I'm going to talk about the New Ventures Fund, which is, in a brief sense, Water.org's encompassing vision of how it ensures that we are able to get clean water and sanitized water and plumbing to these areas. So according to Gary White, who is our CEO and co-founder, he was speaking at the Skoll World Forum. So to give you a quick background of that, it's basically a huge think tank of entrepreneurs and economists who come together and talk about the world's most pressing issues and try and find entrepreneurial solutions to those that benefit everybody involved. So you can read here, Gary White was talking about the New Ventures Fund, and it basically is the, like I mentioned earlier, the general capstone fund that Water.org uses to ensure the water credit program that Stanley's going to talk about in a little bit is able to continue and bringing affordable plumbing to areas that don't have access to it. By donating $25,000 to Water.org through the New Ventures Fund, you're ensuring that we're able to do research, especially on how to find the most innovative and the newest solutions to help fix this really complex problem.
Water Credit is a microfinancing tool created by us, Water.org, and it's making massive strides in providing clean and available water, drinking water across the globe. Water Credit works by offering very small loans to inhabitants of very poor countries with little to no interest rates. These loans are then spent on creating new sources of water and sanitation needs. So, as Kagan briefly mentioned, this includes building wells, creating drinking fountains, public plumbing foundation, and the inhabitants are so grateful for these basic necessities that we have seen a 99% repayment rate. Since 2009, which is when Water Credit was created, we have loaned out over 938,000 loans, helping over 4 million people across 8 countries. And the greatest benefit of this Water Credit system is that the money spent on repaying the loans is then recycled and lent out more. So this creates a nearly infinite supply of money, which brings vital assistance to those in need. And lastly, to conclude our presentation, the lack of readily available and clean water is a serious problem. And every day we fail to act, hundreds of thousands of people die, the majority of which are children. These deaths are preventable and require very simple solutions, such as drilling wells or providing sanitization tablets. Though very simple, though the solution is simple, the issue here is this is on the global scale, and the issue here is capital. Through our New Ventures Foundation program, we're forming new partnerships and creating new sources of income while raising the country's economic status up so that they will soon in the future be able to support themselves. Through the Water Credit system is making massive strides in creating new sources of water through recyclable microloans. Despite all these efforts, however, it is not enough. We still have a ways to go before global water access, and that's where you come in. A donation of $25,000 would be vital to our operations and would play an active role in providing the poorest with clean drinking water. The money would go directly to solving the water crisis and will affect thousands of people who are in desperate need. On behalf of Water.org, we hope you seriously consider this opportunity and to hear from you soon. Thank you.